Hello inmates and welcome back to the inn. I'm Rob, of course, or Warshack if you want to call me by my in-game name. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 class-specific legendaries. Keep in mind that this video was posted actually a couple months ago, but that was before the release of the Old Gods. Now that the Old Gods has been released, and some of the legendaries for some of the classes have gotten better, some have gotten worse, so it's about time we've updated this video with the Old Gods cards, along with some, of course, the most recent updates revolving the cards themselves, and if anything has changed with that. So, following this video, hopefully we'll be able to pump out the neutral top 10 legendaries, along with the top 10 worst class legendaries and neutral legendaries. So this is going to be broken down into a four sort of episode series. So with that said, without further ado, we'll get into the top 10 here. Keep in mind that these aren't any particular like list-ish type thing. These are the top 10. They're all good in their own retrospect. Some, of course, a little better than others, but generally these are the best ones that I could pick out for the classes. So without further ado, we'll start with the bottom and head to the top. We're going to start off with Shaman Alakir the Windlord. So this is a guy that we didn't really see that much prior to the Old Gods, but now that the Old Gods has been released, I've actually been seeing him a lot more on ladder. He's an 8-drop, 3 attack, 5 HP, Wind Fury Charge, Divine Shield, and Taunt, so he dips a little bit into every single sort of ability a card can have. Currently, he's used as basically an endgame finisher, so they'll put him next to maybe a Flame Tongue Totem. He'll have, 5 attack. They'll give him a Rockbiter weapon, make him have 8 attack. He'll attack twice for 16 damage, which is a ton. Along with that, he's good by himself for making trades, and if you buff him up, he gets even better. So not really too much to say about that. I'm trying to go over these a little quicker than I have in the past, just to time's sake. Cenarius, so we're heading into the Druid class now. This guy, in combination with a legendary we're going to talk about in a little bit, Fandral, is absolutely insane, but Cenarius is good on his own. He's a 9-drop, 5 attack, 8 HP. Choose one, and it's give your other minions +2/+2, or summon 2/2 Treants with Taunt. It shouldn't have to explain why summoning 2/2s, there we go, with Taunt is good. It protects you, and it also immediately deals with stuff on the board, so they'll have to trade into those 2/2s and maybe protect your life total and our Cenarius. And him himself, he's a 5/8, so that's a huge wall for your opponent to get through. And if you already have creatures on the board, you can go ahead and give them all +2/+2 instead of summoning the Treants. But if we get into Fandral, obviously we'll get into him later, but he's also what makes Cenarius a little bit better than what he used to be, because you can trigger each one of these once with Fandral's ability, but we'll get into him later, like I mentioned before. So heading into Rogue, we're looking at VanCleef. The reason being is he's found in basically every single Rogue deck you're going to run into on ladder, and whether they can pull, VanCleef on turn 2 or 3 and make him an 8/8 or a 10/10 due to the fact that they have Backstab, Prep, and cards that cost 0 mana, or they end up playing him later on in the game, either or, he's basically always going to be at least a 4/4 or a 6/6, and for that 3 mana cost, he's very, very good. Unfortunately, he does not count as a pirate, which is my only complaint, but it kind of makes sense why he's not a pirate. Due to lore sake, Tony's explained it to me. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, there's a reason he's not a pirate, but he should be a pirate, but he's just not, so it's like, whatever. I think he still should be a pirate, but I know it's not. He's not. I know, guys. Okay. Heading into the Warrior, we've got Malkorok here. This guy, we've actually done a weapon value guide on this particular card, going over all the weapons, the chance of getting each weapon, and like I mentioned, every weapon you can get. I'll put that annotation to the left, along with putting the link in the description for those of you who want to look into that and play Warrior often. For those of you who aren't familiar with the card, he's a 7-drop, 6/5, Battlecry, equipped a random weapon, so this could be anywhere between, let's say, I can't think of a Cursed Blade, for example, the worst weapon, in my opinion, you could get, and then go all the way to a Gorehour or Doomhammer. So very RNG swingy, but nonetheless, he's going to give you around a 2/3 or a 3/2 weapon for the most part, and really good card, really good tempo swing. Most of the time, he grants you value, sometimes even some extra value if he gives you, Arcane Reaper, Gorehour, some of those better weapons. He's also found in a lot of tempo warrior decks. Yeah, that's about it. Looking at the new Paladin legendary, the Ragnaros the Lightlord, unlike his counterpart, the Fire Lord, this guy heals you for 8 instead of dealing 8 to you. He's an 8 for 8/8. But what makes this card really, really cool is not only do you get the benefit of this card, because when you end your turn, it automatically heals another creature. He's going to heal himself, or he's going to heal your face. Whatever's damaged, it splits up the percentage of where it's going to land. But besides that, you can attack with this guy. So unlike Ragnaros the Fire Lord, which he kind of just sits there and he shoots out fireballs and hope to God you hit the right target when you need to, this guy you can aim and point and shoot with this guy. So he's not bound by the can attack writing. So that's what makes him really good, in my opinion. Makes Paladin that much cooler, in my opinion. Before, they just had Tirion here, which we'll get into him later. But Rag was, I think, a great addition to the Paladin legendaries. Heading into the Mage class, unfortunately, Mage did not receive the good end of the stick this last expansion. We'll get into Anomalous and our worst legendaries, but for now, Archmage Antonidas, he's a classic card, and he will forever, in my opinion, forever be and remain one of the best cards in the game, just due to the fact that even though he's not played a lot, whenever you cast a spell, add a fireball to your hand. That is insane. If you do not kill this guy, and you're going against a mage, and he plays them, and they have at least 2 or 3 cards in your hand, you better believe at least 1 or 2 of those is a spell. And then once they get one spell, and whether it be a fireball, they can just keep playing fireballs every single turn. So whether they're trading for value or hitting your face for 12 because they can cast 2 fireballs in 1 turn, it's bad. So Antonidas is definitely a great mage card, even though we don't see him as much right now just due to the fact that he's a little slower. He's still a fantastic card, in my opinion, and very, very, very powerful. Heading into the Warrior once more, Hellscream. Again, some of the classic legendaries that came out when the game was first released. He's an 8-drop, 4/9, but that's not what makes him good. What makes him good is his charge, and then enrage plus 6 attack. So he basically has 10 attack when he's enraged, and most of the time, as we know, when we're playing against somebody with the Hellscream in their deck, they can play Hellscream, they can Whirlwind, they can Revenge, they can Slam. There's a variety of cards at which they can play to give this guy enrage as soon as he's played, so they can, burst out 10 damage, which is not very common with the Warrior class. We know Warriors being not a bursty kind of deck, but Hellscream says otherwise. Besides that, there's not really much to him. He doesn't gain, value over each turn. He's basically just a one-stop shop to deal 10 damage or to make a value trade with maybe another creature like an Azure Drake, and then your opponent has to use another spell or an ability to get rid of him. So he's a 2-for-1 there. Definitely a great Warrior card and a fantastic addition to almost every single Warrior deck. I can't think of a Warrior deck that doesn't play Hellscream besides some Cthulhu decks, and even then, it's just like, why would you not play Hellscream? He's fantastic. Heading in back to the Druid, we've got the Fandral. So we discussed Cenarius, and this is what makes Cenarius even better than just summoning a 2/2 Trance with Taunt, or giving all your creatures +2/+2. This guy says your choose 1 cards have both effects combined. So this means that your Druid of the Claw, your Raven Idols, your Nourish, your Cenarius, they trigger both abilities, which is an insane value play. It may not be the most tempo play, and it may not be the fastest play in the world like we see Zoo or Tempo Mage, but over the course, if you're playing any mid-range or control deck, you're going to be able to outvalue them if this card sits on the field for longer than 1 or 2 turns. Even if you play this guy, on turn 6 and you combo maybe a Wrath and or play him on turn 7, combo a Wrath and a Raven Idol with him, this is a lot of value being generated, and with the Wrath, it's a lot of tempo. You kill, it does 4 damage, and you draw a card, and then the Raven Idol gives you 2 card choices, and another with which could be another Raven Idol. It's an insane card, and definitely one of those kind of cards you have to kill as soon as the Druid plays it, unless you like losing. Heading into we're at our last 2 legendaries here. We got Lord Jaraxxus. So he's a 9-drop, 3 attack, 15 HP, but it's not really the stats about this guy is what makes him crazy. It's his battle cry. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Hearthstone, or maybe new and you're just not familiar with what Lord Jaraxxus does, as he's not the most popular Warlock legendary at the moment, he's still a very, very good one. So he replaces your hero, and you have a base health of 15. He gives you a 3/8 weapon. A 3/8 weapon. That's a lot of damage that you can do over the course of 8 turns, unless it gets Harrison Jones, which is another story. But most of the time, let's just play it safe and pretend like they don't destroy your weapon. And then instead of your passive being sacrifice 2 of your health, draw 1 card, it actually costs 2 mana, summon a 6/6 Dread Infernal, which I don't know what deck can handle you spending 2/6 and summoning a 6/6 Dread Infernal every turn. So basically, if you play Lord Jaraxxus and he sits on the field, or he's your hero power for longer than 2 or 3 turns, it's almost impossible for your opponent to outvalue you, because you're able to summon a 6/6 for 2 mana every turn, and it doesn't even cost you a card. It's just free. So it's insane. The only problem is, again, you're capped at 15 base health. So if they, for example, you're playing against a warrior and they haven't played Hellscream, they can Hellscream, burst out 10 damage, and maybe they already have 5 damage on the field, so you lose that way just because of the low base health that Lord Jaraxxus changes it to. But let's say you're at low health when you use Lord Jaraxxus, you actually, gain 10 health if you were at 5. So there's good and bad with Lord Jaraxxus, but either way, he's a fan. In my opinion, one of the best legendaries. This whole list is comprised of, obviously, my top 10 picks of best legendaries. If you've got different sort of choices or preferences, that's you. You can leave it in the comment section below and let me know what you think I did wrong. But either way, this is my preference. Obviously, we're all going to be different. So we have Tirion. He's a 8-drop 6/6 Divine Shield Taunt Death Rattle, equipped a 5/3 Ashbringer. I'm pretty sure Tirion was our #1 on the last video we did on this, and he will be #1 again on this one. The reason being is that this card is, in my opinion, absolutely insane unless it gets silenced or it gets hexed or it gets sheeped. If they don't have the ability to do that, not only do they have to waste maybe a creature or a card to knock off Divine Shield, unless they're maybe a mage or a druid and they're willing to use 2 mana to knock it off with a mage hero power, or they're willing to take 6 to the face if they're a druid or a rogue, they also have to attack it first because it has taunt. On top of that, it's a 6/6, so it's pretty big in stats. And then on top of that, it has Death Rattle, which means you're going to get a 5/3 Ashbringer weapon, which is 15 damage right there. On top of that, because he has Death Rattle, N'Zoth can bring him back, so you have to deal with 2 Tyrions. So it's just there's a variety of ways in which this card, in my opinion, is absolutely insane, and definitely the most powerful class legendary in my opinion in the game. Lord Jaraxxus follows very close to that, if not the same par as Tirion here, but you can understand why he's broken. All right. So that wraps up our class legendaries. If you guys want to go ahead and comment what you think I'm missing, or the ordering, or whatever you want to comment, feel free. I read them. And then also, which video would you like to see next? Would you like to see the top 10 worst class legendaries, the top 10 worst neutrals, or we can go on to the top 10 best neutral legendaries? So there's 3 more after this. And the ordering at which they're going to be released is up to you guys. So if you want to go ahead and leave that in the comment section below, I'll be glad to read them over, hear out your feedback, and post them as you see fit. So, as always, guys, I'm Warshack, of course, and happy whatever the hell day it is.